Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Elden Ring. And in this one, I want to put together a list of 8 essential bleed items that you definitely want to pick up. Bleed is fantastic. It is lethal, brutal in this game. I have been running dual katanas with the bleed setup for quite some time and I am loving it. Yes, it might be a little bit cheesy, but seeing the boss's health just disappear is super satisfying. And if you guys want to experience it, then in this video, I want to go through a few noteworthy items that you should definitely pick up, definitely be using if you like bleed. So if you guys do enjoy this, a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know if you guys have got any other items that you think are awesome. And of course, do be sure to keep it locked for plenty more Elden Ring. So to begin with, the very first one is of course Reduvia the Bloodblade. This is a dagger that I'm sure a lot of you guys have by now. It is something you can get very early in the game and it has the nice unique skill Reduvia Bloodblade where you slash with the wicked dagger, transforming its never dying bloodstains into airborne blood blades that cause hemorrhaging, and this can be fired in rapid succession. This is actually very nice when used, of course, if you level it up together. Those rapid slashes can actually stack up and do some pretty nice damage. It's not necessarily the most potent of blood weapons, of course we'll talk about that a little bit later, but if you are starting out, it is definitely a very nice pick, and given how easy it is to get this one, you shouldn't sleep on it. You guys want to grab it, you basically want to go over to this location you see on the map, so the easiest fast travel point is either the Murkwater Catacombs, or of course you can go from the lower point. Basically you want to work your way up to this river, and you run into the middle of it, and there will of course be an invasion. You'll be invaded by Bloody Finger Neregus, and quite simply you kill him and you get the blade. So if you want it, that's where you go. It is however worth noting, if you like that skill, perhaps you don't want it on the dagger, you can later on in the game, when you get to Alta's Plateau, of course the third region, so it requires a little bit more progress, you can actually get an Ash of War that is the same move that you can apply to other types of weapons. If you go over to the Erdtree Gazing Hill Site of Grace over here, what you basically want to do is head over to this general vicinity here, and as you're running across the path, you will find a treasure dung beetle, a treasure scarab, and if you kill that one, you get the Ash of War Bloodblade, where of course you wound yourself to coat the armament with blood, then you unleash an airborne blood blade that causes hemorrhaging and can be fired in rapid succession. So you can use this on small and medium swords, so effectively if you want Reduvia Bloodblade just on a different weapon, then grab this. Now of course it should go without saying that if you like the bleed playstyle, then the Uchikatana is a fantastic weapon. There are plenty of other bleed options in the game, but of course if you start as a samurai, then this weapon has natural blood loss build-up, and of course if you guys didn't start as a samurai and you wanted to get one of these yourself, then you can go over to Limgrave right at the beginning of the game, go to the Death Touch Catacombs, of course you see over here, and then if you follow the route that I'm taking, you basically run through and you don't even need to go and defeat the boss, you simply take a left at the main door, you drop down off the platform, turn around, and then follow this route here, and you'll basically be able to loot this off a dead body. So, if you began your life as a different class and you want a katana, you want an Uchikatana, then you can go here. Of course, if you start as a samurai, you can dual wield, which is fantastic, and that is basically what I've been doing for the majority of the game. Of course, it should go without saying that if you guys are running a blood loss build, Sepuku is by far the best Ash of War. This is fantastic, it is brutal, you stab yourself in the stomach, you coat your blade in blood, and this increases attack power and improves your ability to inflict blood loss, which of course on a weapon like this is already pretty high, but if you do apply this and you turn it into a blood weapon, then you get some pretty rapid build up on this, and of course don't forget that if you want to apply this to both weapons, if you're dual wielding, you need to two-hand your left-handed weapon first, perform Sepuku, switch back to dual wield mode, perform it again, and that way it'll allow you to coat both blades. So keep in mind that if you don't do it in this order, it's considered changing weapons, which of course will take the buff off, so you need to dual wield left first, and then both. But with this in place, as you can see, you can do some phenomenal damage, and this is a must-have Ash of War for any blood loss builds. Of course, if you do want to pick up this Ash of War, we have done a dedicated video on this one, but since I'm trying to make an all-encompassing video, you then want to go to the mountaintops of the giants, the snowy area, and you want to go over to the freezing lake. From there, you simply want to run forwards from the site of grace, and you'll then see this little sort of sparkly trail. This is an invisible treasure dung beetle. Simply strike where you see the tracks, and you can then destroy it, and you'll get the Ash of War. However, that being said, there is another fantastic Ash of War that you should definitely grab, and it's one that you can get very early on, and honestly, I was sleeping on it for quite some time, and that is Bloody Slash, described as a Blood Oath skill granted by the Lord of Blood. From a low stance, you coat the blade in your own blood and unleash a rending blood slash in a wide arc. This does fantastic damage. Might not necessarily be as quick on the old blood loss build-up when you compare it to something like Sepuku, but if you want to use this as a sheer damage move, this is very, very potent. I've used this to take down many a boss in my time. You just simply use this and you see chunks of their health disappear. It is a very nice move to have. Personally, I run with this in an offhand weapon, so then I can use Sepuku for both of my dual hand weapons, and then of course I can switch to this if I want some individual damage. It's nice as well because it does stagger some enemies, so if you're fighting some bosses, you can actually use this to knock them back. It is very, very handy and definitely not a skill you want to sleep on. If you want to grab this one, of course, you go over to Fort Height, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of Limgrave, and then you simply need to make your way to the top of the castle, go up, defeat the knight that is using that move, and you will get the Ash of War. Now, moving on from there, a must-have talisman, the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. This will raise your attack power when blood loss occurs in the vicinity, so basically if you're using any of the previously listed weapons, Ashes of War, especially if you're using Sepuku, basically you're getting a flat damage boost just because you're making things bleed. It is a must-have if you want to run this build, and if you want to get this one, you turn your attention to the capital, to the Altus Plateau, and you basically need to turn your attention to the Leyndell Catacombs. Of course, once you go inside there, same principle, it is one of those ones where you just need to work your way through, get to the end, defeat the boss, and upon defeating the boss, it'll drop this talisman. Moving on from there, another fantastic item, this time an armor piece, and that is the White Mask. This is described as a bloodstained, faintly grinning white mask worn by war surgeons who are effectively mercy killers. However, it's worth noting that this slightly raises attack power when there is blood loss nearby, and this stacks with the previous talisman, so if you use these together, you're getting a hefty blood loss damage boost. If you want to get this one, you need to turn your attention to the Palace Approach Ledge Road, which of course is the site of grace we use to do the famous rune farm, so of course you'll need access to this location. And then if you look at where I'm putting markers on the map, essentially what you need to do is go over to here and you'll be invaded by a series of white masks. Do be careful because there are some other strong enemies around there, but basically you kill the first one and then you continue wandering around that sort of swampy area where I put the waypointers. There'll be a second one, you kill that one, there'll be a third one, and when you kill the third one, they will then drop the full armor set, which of course you can have if you want, but we just care about the mask. It is, however, very important to note that if you have completed this area and you have defeated the boss, these guys will not spawn. As it currently stands, I do not know of a way to get this mask otherwise. If any of you guys do know, let me know in the comments down below. But if you have defeated the boss in this area, unfortunately, these guys will not spawn. So I guess it'll be a New Game Plus thing. But if you haven't done this, go down there, defeat them, get this mask, because if you combine that with the talisman, you are doing some nutty bleed damage. And then finally, for the very last one, this is very important if you want to lean into blood loss again, and the item in question is the Black Wet Blade. This is an item that once you have obtained it, will allow you to change the affinity of a weapon to poison, blood, or occult, which of course is very useful because if you're applying Ashes of War that are not your regular blood loss ones, for example, let's say you want something like Quick Step, or you want something like Stormcaller, or other kind of weapon-based Ashes of War, when you have this in your inventory, you're then able to choose blood as an affinity. So that means that you could take a separate Ash of War if there's something you really like, and you can then apply blood loss to it. Keep in mind this doesn't apply to every Ash of War, but it does unlock the ability to use blood affinity on some weapons. However, in order to get this, you will need to have access to Nokron the Eternal City. If you haven't got this far, I will link the Moonlight Greatsword guide in the description box down below. You simply need to follow Ranni's questline until you get to this point. But from this site of grace, you simply need to follow this route you see here, where we're going to be running across the rooftops. You'll get to a little sort of broken wall, and you'll then enter through a window. Once you enter there, there'll be a dead body, and on that is the Black Wet Blade. Pick that up, and you then unlock the ability to apply blood affinity to your weapons. So there you have it, sort of rundown on 8 very useful bleed related items if you guys want to run blood loss builds. If you guys did find this useful, a like would be super appreciated. If you guys have missed our latest upload, be sure to check out this for more Elden Ring, and keep it locked on the channel.